Oi, fala aí pessoal, bom dia. Você está escutando o Inglês no rádio. I am your host, Foster Hodge. This is your daily dose of English. Hey, Alexia, how are you?
Hi, Foster. I'm just fine. What about you?
I'm doing great. So today, guys, this is part 5, the last episode of our series talking about travel. And today we're talking about the most important part of travel, language learning.
How to do it.
How
when
to do it most effectively. And the reason I want to talk about this is because I have taught so many students that travel a lot, that spend a lot of time in countries where English is the national language, and they still don't learn the language when they are traveling in that country. I'm not naming names. I'm not saying this is, it is a bad thing. I have students that have lived in the U.S. for more than 10 years that speak almost zero English. And I just think it's a missed opportunity. So in this episode, we're going to talk about how to take advantage of that time when you're traveling. Okay?
Okay.
Cool. So Alexia, I think the most important thing for me is when you are traveling in a country, the most important thing, the only thing you need to focus on is having as many conversations with native speakers as possible. Do you agree with that?
Of course I do.
Okay. Do you think you do that when you travel?
Yes.
Yeah, you're pretty good about talking to everyone.
Yeah, even in Spanish. I did great.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. So
Yeah, at first I'm a little bit shy, but after 20 minutes, I'll be fine.
Yeah, it's totally natural to be shy. I'm a very shy person as well. But the big mistake that I see a lot of students make is they think they cannot learn English until they arrive in the country. And really like the idea of, okay, I'm not going to learn English now, but in 6 months I'm going to the US and I'll do a course. If you just start preparing beforehand, your time in the US or wherever you're traveling to will be so much better. And you can focus on conversations and meeting people.
Yeah, if you are a beginner, try to learn the basic things. Like, hello, good morning, how are you? What you're up to? What do you want for dinner? This kind of things.
Yeah, dinner.
Dinner.
Yeah, that's the difference between the E and the I sound. You can learn more about it in Sound School. Okay, so really we have two things. One is you should learn as much of the language before you get there. In tomorrow's episode, we will talk about how to really learn a lot when you're not in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in Brazil and you're, I don't know, even if you're not doing a course, when you're at home by yourself, we'll give you some tips and techniques. But right now we're talking about you are traveling, you're in the country, this is what you should do, right?
Right.
So you should have as many conversations as possible. I always tell my students to think about language learning in hours. So you want to think about the amount of hours of conversation you can have each day. And to have conversations, you need to do what?
Meet people.
You need to meet a lot of people. So we have an episode, I think it's episode 50, Como Fazer Amigos in English, where we give you a lot of resources. Like
meetups.
Meetup.com.
Classes.
Yeah. So
Pure Bar.
Yeah, we have an episode where Alexia talks about Pure Bar, which is kind of like a crazy ballet Pilates type
Fitness.
thing. I think that is episode 9, Pure Bar, Exercise from Hell.
Yeah.
It's a funny one. So I always recommend do a little bit of research before you go. Try to find people that like the same things you do. You can use meetup.com. You can use Facebook groups. You can just start classes somewhere or start a gym, yoga classes, photography classes.
Ceramic. No, pottery.
Pottery. Whatever
Pottery.
you're into. Yeah. Just whatever you normally do in Portuguese, find people that are doing that in English hang
Yeah,
out with them.
it's not hard, and I'm pretty sure that here is cheaper than in Brazil as well. So,
Yeah, probably most of the time, especially because as we're recording this, the dollar is like 4 to 1.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, first thing, meet as many people as you can and talk to them. And if these people have common interests with you, it's a lot easier to talk to them. You know, if you just walk up to a random person on the street and say, like, hello, I'm from Brazil. They're like, okay, cool. But if you are in a yoga class, everyone's talking about yoga, and you're like, hey, I'm from Brazil. I do yoga in Brazil. They are probably going to be a lot more open.
Yeah. And they will be curious about you. I always say this because it's true. Take, for instance, Sunday evening that
Hmm.
we went out to have dinner, a really special kind of dinner.
Yeah.
It was I don't know how to explain that, but it was a group dinner that no one knew each other, and it was a family kind of serving.
Yeah, we say family style.
Yeah, family style.
So this restaurant has every Sunday, they call it Sunday suppers, which supper is also a word for dinner that most people don't know. Kind of a Southern thing, but for example, my mom always says supper, not dinner. But everyone's at one table. We all share food. No one knows each other. I mean, I knew Alexia and that was it.
Yeah.
And everyone was so much more interested in Alexia, as always. Just because you're
Just
Brazilian.
because I had to show my passport to drink wine. Just because of that. No, but it was really interesting because usually I don't know any people that have been to Brazil already.
Yeah.
And two of them had already been to Brazil and to
Yeah.
Rio, Vitória, Recife, and Bahia. It's amazing.
Yeah, that was interesting.
They know more about Brazil than me.
Yeah. Yeah. Most people are super interested about
Yeah.
Brazil. But once you start having your first conversations, your first ones are always the hardest, right?
Yes.
So after you just start talking to people, it gets easier every time. So you have to start that habit immediately when you get into a new country. Okay, so step one, easy. Talk to people. Talk to a lot of people. Meet people, have conversations. All right?
All right.
Okay, my second piece of advice is always listen and repeat. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so it does not matter. Your level is not important. If you are relatively basic and you only know like introduction phrases like, hey, how are you? I'm fine. How are you doing? What do you want to drink? Just always when you're on the street, when you're in a restaurant, when you're in the metro, just listen to these things that you already know. So when someone says, hey, how are you? Then you should just listen and think in your head, okay, he said, hey, how are you? And try to repeat. So I'm always repeating quietly, kind of under my breath. So in Brazil, someone's like, e aí, beleza, cara? And I'm like, huh. He said that a little differently than I would. And I'm like, e aí, beleza, cara? You know? So
And
I'm
this
kind
way
of a
you
crazy
can
person.
recognize the accent as well. Here, I have a lot of trouble sometimes with Southern accent.
Hmm.
So it's pretty amazing how I got better, but still,
Yeah.
it's really, really difficult sometimes.
Yeah. But the way your Southern accent is improving is just you are listening to things and then you start repeating them. And each day you start sounding a little bit more like me and my parents. And don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
The way that I call you, just like your mom.
Oh, that's terrible. Sometimes I hear Alexia say my name and it sounds just like my mom. It's a nightmare.
I call him Foster, and then he's ma'am.
Yeah. So on that note, I think that's a good place to stop. So just two things when you're traveling: meet people, talk to people, have conversations. That's just one thing. And then always listen and repeat.
And let them know that you are improving, that you want to know better, that you want to know this place better. I don't know. Let them know
Yeah.
because everything will get better.
Yeah. Don't hide the fact that you are not that you're not a native English speaker.
Yeah, don't be a snob. That's it.
No, it's not snobby.
Yes, it's a kind of snob
No.
thing. Like, oh, I have very good English, so I don't
I speak very
I
good
speak
English.
very I speak very good
We
English.
never have English.
and I don't need help. You always need help. So,
Yeah, but not even asking for help. Like my first time in Brazil, I did not want people to know that I was American, so I would just be very quiet. But when I started saying like, "Oi, eu sou americano, estou aprendendo português", e daí todo mundo fica muito mais aberto.
sim, ainda mais no Brasil.
Sim.
Americano? Como assim?
Cool. Okay, Alexia, I will see you tomorrow.
Okay, bye.